Hello, hello, scholars. Happy Friday. You made it. Whole week of digital learning. Wow, amazing. So let me just get into the right mode here. So we're reading a book today called Wangari's Trees of Peace, a true story from Africa. And if you might remember this name, Wangari, because this book is also about Wangari Maathai, which the book we read yesterday was also about her. Um, but you might also remember this name here, Jeanette Winter, because she wrote the book called Our House is on Fire, which we read a few days ago. Okay, so like I said, this author, Jeanette Winter, she writes biographies, but she does them in a bit of a different way. So as we're reading, you'll get some very similar facts. Some may be different, or they might just be said in a different way. Some very similar things to what we read yesterday. But Jeanette Winter does a very interesting way of showing her art, as well as the way she tells the story. So really be thinking about what was similar to what we read yesterday, and what is a little bit different, because you're going to be needing to write about that after we read. So this is Wangari's Trees of Peace, a true story from Africa. The earth was naked. For me, the mission was to try to cover it with green. Wangari Maathai. So this quote was also in our last book. Wangari lives under an umbrella of trees in the shadow of Mount Kenya in Africa. So I can already see the artwork is a little bit different than yesterday. She watches the birds in the forest where she and her mother go to gather firewood for cooking. So when she's little, she walks through the forest. She's like, hello, birds, getting firewood. And she helps harvest the sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize from the rich soil. So there she's helping her mom. Those are sweet potatoes. Wangari shines in school. And when she grows tall, like the trees in the forest, she wins a scholarship to study in America. So here, this is like the mountain where she's from and the forest that she would walk through with her mom. And looks like she's sailing over to the United States. I believe that's the Statue of Liberty. 6 years later, her studies over, Wangari returns to her Kenya home and sees a change. So you can already see that's the same mountain, but it looks very different. The clouds are yellow. There's no more trees. So this is how she thought it looked before. And this is after she comes back. What has happened? She wonders. Where are the trees? Wangari sees women bent from hauling firewood miles and miles from home. She sees barren land where no crops grow. And where are the birds? So I noticed these italic words are things that she's keeping in her mind, things that she's thinking about. So it's not necessarily things that she's saying to people, it's just things that she's thinking about. So barren land where no crops grow. That probably means like it's just like dirt and you can't really grow any plants there. Thousands of trees have been cut down to make room for buildings, but no one planted new trees to take their place. Will all of Kenya become a desert? She wonders as her tears fall. So now she's thinking, oh my goodness, they just kept cutting these trees for buildings or whatever, and they're not planting more trees. So is it going to be a desert? She's really worried about that. Wangari thinks about the barren land. I can begin to replace some of the lost trees here in my own backyard, one tree at a time. She starts by planting 9 seedlings. So again, there she is making that choice, right? Like she's like, I can do something in my backyard. I'm going to start planting just little trees one by one, just to try and help. Watching the seedlings take root gives Wangari the idea to plant more, to start a farm for baby trees, a nursery. So she's planting baby trees. In an open space, she plants row after row of the tiny trees. Next, Wangari convinces the village women that planting trees is a good thing. She gives each one a seedling. Our lives will be better when we have trees again. You'll see, we are planting the seeds of hope. That's also another very powerful sentence. We are planting the seeds of hope. So in my mind, this sentence kind of gives me this picture like, okay, she's planting these small plants and they're going to grow into big trees. So if she's planting the seeds of hope, that means like right here, there's only 3 people who are like, oh, hopeful. Like maybe things can get better. But when you plant a seed, it grows, right? So maybe as they're planting these seeds of hope, hope will grow also. And more people will have hope, right? So that's what she's thinking. The women spread out over their village, planting tiny trees in long rows, like a green belt stretching over the land. So this sentence also gives me this picture in my mind, like, oh, most of the land is brown and they're making a green belt. So you can imagine somebody wearing a belt and how that color stands out, right? So the rows that they're making kind of stand out in their village. The government men laugh. So they're laughing at them. Women can't do this, they say. It takes trained foresters to plant trees. The women ignore the laughter and keep planting. So this reminds me a lot of the last book also, right? When people were like, oh, they can't even read and write. How are they going to do this? But they were like, no, we're just going to keep going. Wangari pays them a small amount for each seedling still living after 3 months, their first earnings ever. So she's giving a little bit of money to the women who are helping her plant these trees. And normally these women don't make any money or don't have any jobs. So it's the first time that they're earning money. Word travels like wind rustling through leaves about the green returning to Wangari's village. Soon, other women in other villages and towns and cities in Kenya are planting long rows of seedlings too. So I can tell these are different villages by the different colored houses and different shapes. But all these people just keep planting tree by tree by tree. But the cutting continues. Wangari stands tall as an oak to protect the old trees still remaining. We need a park more than we need an office tower. So you can see people are trying to cut down the trees, and she's like, no, we need to protect them. The government men disagree. Wangari blocks their way, so they hit her with clubs. They call her a troublemaker and put her in jail. And still she stands tall. Right is right, even if you are alone. This is a very important sentence, right? Right is right, even if you are alone. So here she's the only one in there got in trouble, but she's like, right is right. So the right thing to do is still the right thing to do, and you should still do the right thing even if other people are not doing the right thing. But Wangari is not alone. Talk of the trees spreads all over Africa like ripples in Lake Victoria. So even though she's got in trouble, more and more people are planting. And I can see that the color is starting to change in the landscape too. More women hear the talk and plant even more seedlings in longer and longer rows. The seedlings take root and grow tall until there are over 30 million trees where there were none. The umbrella of green in Kenya returns. So at the beginning, remember, she felt like the forest was an umbrella over her. So now the umbrella returned to Kenya. Women walk tall, their backs straight, for now they can gather firewood closer to home. And the birds are back, I notice, as well. The land is no longer barren. Sweet potatoes, sugarcane, and maize grow again in the rich red earth. The whole world hears of Wangari's trees and of her army of women who planted them. And if you were to climb to the very top of Mount Kenya today, you would see the millions of trees growing below you and the green Wangari brought back to Africa. So here we also have an author's note, similarly like we had in the last book. So these were two books that we read yesterday and today about the same person, but they were by different authors, and they had a bit of a different style. So as you do your read aloud response, think about the ways that the books were similar and about the ways that they were different. Okay. Thank you.